American cars are massive, physically massive, but in Europe and particularly the UK, not so much. There isn't really the following for American cars that there is for Japanese cars or for German cars or particularly for classic Brits. So why is that? Well, I've come to perhaps the biggest gathering of Brits that do own American cars, which is the classic American Stars and Stripes show here at Tatton Park, powered by Haggerty, to find out. Let's go for a wander around. With this Cadillac here, we've got two potential issues for the Brit wanting to buy an American car. For a start, driving the thing. America is a left-hand drive country. Britain is a right-hand drive country. And because most American cars were never designed to be exported to Britain, the steering wheel is on what we would consider the wrong side. And that tends to make life very difficult. That means you can't reach toll booths, you can't get to parking ticket machines, drive-throughs become extremely difficult, and if you want to overtake something like a tractor or a lorry, you've got to be a lot further back or stray over into the other lane to the point of it being dangerous. If you've never driven a left-hand drive in a right-hand drive country before, that can be extremely intimidating. More so when you consider the size of the things. Look at this Cadillac, for example, 19 feet long. It is vast. You're not fitting this in a normal parking space, you're not fitting it in a standard driveway or in a standard garage, and that means for a lot of people, American cars aren't viable for their sheer size, not to mention the length of the thing. If you take this thing around a multi-storey car park or in a double mini roundabout, you are going to struggle, all the more so when you can't even see the other side of the road. So you can sort of see why your typical Brit might be put off by this. Another potential off-putter is the thirst. Take this Pontiac GTO, for example, gorgeous though it is. This has got the 455 big block V8 in it, 7.5 litres in fact. Round town, don't ask. On a run, maybe 15 to the gallon, maybe less if you put your foot down a bit, which you should do when it sounds this good, and that is not a viable prospect when you consider our fuel prices. If you're watching in America, you might not realise that in the UK, we tend to pay between £1.40 and £1.50 a litre for our petrol. So we'll put that on screen in dollars per American gallon. It is terrifying. The prospect of potential single-figure fuel consumption is scary, particularly if you're used to a modern diesel that does more like 30, 40 or 50 to the gallon. 15 is scary. Another reason could be nostalgia or lack thereof. A lot of classic car purchases, but not all, are generally made on nostalgia. My friend had one of those, my dad had one of those, I had one when I was a teenager. But because American cars have never been that widespread in the UK, we don't really have much nostalgia for them. There's the odd exception, like of course the iconic Starsky and Hutch Gran Torino we've got here, but that's from television. There are other examples like the Dodge Charger General Lee and so on, but apart from those few in TV and movies, a lot of people in the UK don't have much nostalgia for American cars, and therefore it's hard to make a nostalgia-fueled classic purchase for one. But even if you can get around all those potentially off-putting factors, then there's the question of even getting one in the first place. Of course you can import one from America, but that is going to be complicated, time-consuming, as Jeff proved, and potentially cost thousands to do it properly. So why not buy an American car that's in the UK, like this beautiful Chevy Bel Air? Well, because they're highly sought after, they're highly prized, and if you love American cars, nothing else will do. As a result, a lot of American cars that you'd want are extremely expensive. Take this Bel Air. If you want a really nice one of these, £30,000 to £50,000 in the UK, and that is beyond the budgets of a lot of us that are looking at MGBs and Triumph Spitfires. And it's not alone. A good Mustang, £25,000 to £50,000, Dodge Chargers can be the same, and if you want a really mint 50s Cadillac, you need pretty much new Cadillac money. It's not a cheap hobby to be into American cars. So if owning an American car in the UK means putting yourself through massive thirst, the steering wheel on the wrong side, a massive car that doesn't fit in your garage, and paying a huge price to enter it in the first place, why do people, like the people at Stars and Stripes here, love American cars? Well, it's because they're different. There's something totally unique, particularly in the UK when we're used to much smaller, more conservative cars. They're bright, they're loud, they're proud, they're brash, and they're different. And even on the occasions where we do mimic American styling in our own cars, it just doesn't stand up to the theatre of stuff like this. And that is why a show like this is packed full to the rafters of American muscle, chrome, leather, button-back velour. It is stunning. And if you do fancy a bit of entry to that American dream, but on a more modest British size scale and budget, there are options for American cars that we did get in this country. If you fancy a 90s luxury car, but even the Lexus LS isn't quite alternative enough for you, what about this? The Cadillac STS, a Caddy that was officially imported and sold in Britain, albeit this one is left-hand drive. that this had the famous North Star V8 in the front. It was front-wheel drive, at the time the world's most powerful front-wheel drive car, around 300 horsepower, and a very clever engine that's supposed to be immune from overheating, where when it gets hot on one bank, it shuts the other one down and alternates, and will keep itself running for up to 100 miles with no coolant in it. Very, very impressive stuff. Now inside, you've got a bit of 90s GM quality going on, but it's completely different, unique and unusual. And it makes a BMW 5 Series or even a Mercedes S-Class look just a bit boring. There's the slightly divisive Chrysler PT Cruiser, seen here in even rarer convertible guise. Now yes, it's not to everyone's taste, but as we've covered before, it's a lot better of a car than it gets credit for. It's got a real unique charm and character to it, and buying one of these for just a couple of £1,000 gets you access to an American car in the UK that gets you into a fantastically enthusiastic owners community. And for me, that's what owning a classic car is all about, the community, the people with them. And the PT Cruiser is one of the best examples of that. Don't write these off. Proper future classic. For me though, this could be the ultimate American car that we got in Britain, the Chrysler 300C, which came from an era when Chrysler and Mercedes were tied up. And that means that underneath this fantastic looking bodywork that screams gangster as far as I'm concerned, you've got a W211 E-Class, which means it rides well, handles reasonably well, but inside you've got a really nice luxurious interior. You've got your wood, you've got your leather, it is slightly plasticky, but it is still really nice in there, and we got them in right-hand drive, which makes it more usable. You'll notice also it is big, but no bigger than an E-Class, which means that unlike a lot of classic American land yachts, you can park it over here. And then there's the engine. Yes, you could get the Hemi V8 in 5.7 and even 6.1 litre guises, but they also did a diesel Mercedes V6, which is perfectly economical and absolutely bomb-proof. And you can get into one of these from around £2,000. All this for a couple of grand? That is an all-American bargain, and slightly German. So there you have it, American cars. For a lot of Brits, they're an oddity that will never really make sense in this country, and there are lots of reasons why. But as I hope we've shown, scratch beneath the surface, and there is a huge appeal to Yank tanks. They're charismatic, they're unusual, and they're totally unique in this country that makes owning one a hugely appealing prospect, whether you're talking one of the more modern classics or some proper 60s Americana like this stuff. But why don't you let us know what you think? Comment down below. Have you ever owned an American car in this country? Would you? How did you find it? Make sure to like this video, subscribe for all future Classics World content, and stay tuned for all our future videos, which may or may not include some American stuff. Thanks for watching. Whether you're talking classic, there are. Hi, I'm Joe Miller and I get interrupted for a living.